When I was growing up, it wasn't uncommon, particularly when I was frowning, for my parents to look at me and tell me that it takes more muscles to smile than to frown, so I should stop. Would it surprise you to discover that in reality, it's the other way around? I've learned from a thorough study on the subject that it is actually the other way around. Scientists who study the muscles required to produce these facial expressions agree on a couple of things. Number one, to produce even a small smile, it takes a full 10 muscles, and a small frown, just 6. To produce an average one, respectively, it's 12 and 11, so it gets a lot closer, but it still takes more muscles to smile than it does to frown. However, they also agree that it's easier to smile because we do it more, and that smiling, whether we're doing it unconsciously or whether it's a conscious decision to smile at somebody, influences other people to smile. You might say, in reality, that it's contagious. While some would call smiling the universal sign of happiness, you may wonder how or why it's possible that smiling can be contagious. Well, I'm here today to share with you some amazing facts about smiling and why we are more closely linked as a species and as a people than you might think. As I said before, smiling's contagious. It's part of what helps us understand the people we're interacting with. As you walk around every day, you might happen to see a shirt or a pair of pants or a pair of shoes, if you like shoes. I hear some people do. Um, that you think, gosh, that looks really cool. I wonder what it would feel like for me to be wearing that. Science is slowly building evidence that in a more profound way, even in a more pronounced way, we do that with facial expressions as well. Think about the last time you were out for a walk on a bad day. If you were, leaving work and just something hadn't gone quite right, leaving church or the grocery store, maybe you were just walking through a park and just were having a rotten day. Wherever it might have been, you stop for a minute, you close your eyes just to take a breath. Think about now opening your eyes. And as you do, a person comes past, smiling at you, waving, and just saying hi. Don't second guess it. For a moment, you felt like smiling. You might not. It might have been a really, really bad day. Something just disastrously awful might have happened to you. But for a moment, you want to try. Really and truly, that's you trying to comprehend what they're feeling, trying to comprehend that expression. There's mounting evidence pointing to the fact that generally, without meaning to, our human instinct for facial mimicry helps us relate to the people around us. It's almost as though we're trying on other people's faces to feel how they feel. This emotional fitting allows us to empathize with the person our attention is fixated on by letting us remember what it's like to wear that expression. In their paper from 2016, a couple of Wisconsin PhDs, Miss Adrienne Woods and Paula Niedenthal of the University of Wisconsin, make the suggestion that this process is completely normal and very, very common. Niedenthal actually goes as far as to suggest, in her own words, your own emotional reaction to the face changes your perception of how you see the face in such a way that it provides you more information about what it means. She goes on to say, you reflect on your emotional feelings and then you generate some sort of recognition judgment. And the most important thing that results is that you take the appropriate action. You either approach the person or you avoid them. In other words, We remember by mimicking someone's expression how it felt the last time we made that expression. We remember how it felt the last time someone shared that expression with us, and it tells us how to act. We do this all the time in social situations. It's how we insulate ourselves from rejection, how we look for acceptance. An important part of who we are, some people would say, is often determined consciously or subconsciously by the groups we're accepted by and the ones we associate with. Doctors Marilyn Brewer and Wendy Gardner of the University, Northwestern University, in fact, suggest that people in the in group tend to practice a greater amount of facial mimicry than those in the out group. They understand each other more and have more familiarity with each other's facial patterns, even the subtle ones. Naturally, they do a better job of instinctually gauging what people in their group are feeling. We see them more often. Our faces mimic theirs more often. We remember them better. Our ability to recognize emotions other people are experiencing naturally, then, can be inhibited if we can't mimic their face. You might wonder how that can happen. Well, have you ever gotten off the phone just stunned that someone took offense to a casual comment that you made? Almost like they didn't understand the real feeling, the real point behind what you'd said. Well, truthfully, they may not have. Remember, much of what we understand about a person's feelings comes from something you can't express over the phone. We have a difficult time reading people's expressions through a closed door when our eyes are closed or over the phone. And yes, that includes video chatting because we can't always see them clearly, and sometimes we can't see them at all. We can't see their face. People who've experienced central or peripheral motor diseases like Bell's palsy or certain social disorders like autism that make it more difficult to mimic certain expressions or even make it uncomfortable to make direct facial contact experience this in a different way. They lose some of their ability to comprehend the emotions of others because either they can't mimic them or won't look at them closely enough to learn what those expressions are and to try to mimic them. Thus, the ability to react appropriately is diminished. It's true that we are a social people, a family people. We're made to be around each other, linked physically and emotionally, and facial mimicry is the initial tool we use to accomplish this. It reminds us of emotions linked to an expression and is the first primary tool that we have for understanding each other. Truly, smiles, like all other facial expressions to some extent, are contagious. In the unconscious mimicry of another person's facial expressions, we come to understand more of what they're feeling because, in part, we feel it too. Think back one more time about the last time someone smiled at you, the last right in front of you. Unconsciously, you felt for a moment like joining them. This gift that allows us to react appropriately to the emotional needs of other people, at some level empathizing, even experiencing their feelings, is truly amazing. Don't waste it. Make sure that the memories people associate with you are reflected on their faces and make them happy. So smile. You're giving us the opportunity to have a true human experience. If only for a moment, we'll get to experience with you a piece of your joy.